Welcome to part 3 of JavaScript for Beginners. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about operators. Operators are used to perform various kinds of computations, such as changing values of variables, combining various values together, or adding numbers together. In JavaScript, there are a lot of different kinds of operators. There are mathematical operators, logical operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, and more. Let's get started with something we already know from school, the mathematical operators. We have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and we can do the same in JavaScript. So let's define a variable called x and assign it a value of 4, and another variable y and assign it the value of 6. So let's do some mathematical operations on these numbers. In order to do that, we have to just use the plus, the minus, the asterisk, or the division symbol. And to do that, we can type console log and type x plus y, and that will give us the sum of x and y, which is 10. We can do the subtraction as well, and in this case, we can do y minus x, and this is also going to give us difference between those two values. There's also the multiplication operator, which is used with the asterisk, and we can do x asterisk y, and this is going to multiply x by y, which is going to give us 24. And finally, we have the division symbol. So we're going to divide y by x, and this is going to give us 1.5. So these are the mathematical operators that you need to know in order to perform mathematical operations in JavaScript. Next up, we are going to talk about the assignment operators. 4 plus 5 equals 9. So in order to do that, we have to use the addition assignment operator, which looks like this. So I'm going to type x plus equals 5, and what is going to be returned is 9. And if we type x, we see that the value x is now 9. So what happened behind the scenes? So the plus equals assignment operator replaces the following format of assigning a variable, which in this case would be x is equals to x plus 5. So in this case, what happens is that the x plus 5 is being shortened into x plus equals 5. And that shorthand operates in the same way as the long form above. There are also assignment operators for subtraction, division, multiplication, modulo, and powers. So let's take a quick look at how they would look like. So in the case of the subtraction, we would type x minus equals 5, which would give us 4. And for the multiplication, we have the asterisk symbol equals 5. That would give us 20. We have the division, which would divide the operand as well. So we have the division symbol, the slash equals 5. That would give us 4 again. And we do have also the modulo operation, which will give us the value of 4. And finally, we can raise the operand value to the power of the assigned value, which in this case would be double asterisk equals 5, and that will give us 1024. Finally, there are also the increment and decrement operators, which will increase or decrease the number by the value of 1. So in this case, let's say we have x, which is equal to 1024, and if I do x plus plus, that will take us to the value 1025. But if I do x minus minus, that will take us to the value of 1024. But you may have noticed that for some reason the value is printed here to be 1025 just right after I asked it to decrease the value. So why do I have to console log x twice to get the right value? That is because of how the increment and decrement operators work. The increment will apply after the command is executed, whereas if we want to apply it before the command is executed, we have to write it the other way around. So in this case, if I wanted to increment x and get the value immediately, I would type plus plus x in this case. And that would give me 1025 immediately. And the same thing with the decrement, I would type minus minus x, and that would give me 1024. And that is all you pretty much need to know about the assignment operators. The next type of operator that I'm going to cover is this JavaScript comparison operator, which allows you to compare two values together. There are quite a few operators that will allow you to evaluate whether one value is equal to another, or it's greater than or less than the other, as well as if their data types are equal as well. So let's take a look the equals operator. Let's try and compare two values together. Let's say 5 is equal to 5. That should return true. And this is what the comparison operators evaluate to. They evaluate to Boolean values, which means that you either get a true or a false, depending on whether or not the comparison is satisfactory or not. We also have the equal value and equal type operator, which is similar to the comparison we did here with the double equals, but this one has a triple equals. And it looks like this. So this is true again. And the reason why that is the case is because they are both the same number, but also the same data type. However, if we try to compare a string to a value of a number, we're going to get false. So a string value of 5 is not going to be equal in value and in type with the number 5. We also have the not equal and not equal value or not equal type sign, which in this case, we can try and say that 4 is not equal to 5. That would be a true statement, but in this case we also compared the data type as well. It is advisable to use strict equals, which means to evaluate whether a comparison is equal both in value and in data type. Otherwise you might have unintended side effects. The next operator that we can take a look at is the greater than and less than operator. So 4 is greater than 5, which would give us false, but 4 is less than 5 would give us true. And finally, we do have a greater than or equal to and a less than or equal to operators, which will also evaluate the comparator value to the operand value to be less than or greater than and equal at the same time. So here is an example where 5 is greater than 5 would give us false, but 5 is greater than or equal to would give us true, because although 5 is not a bigger number than 5, it is still equal between the two values together. We can also do 5 is less than equals 5, which would also yield true, because as I've explained, we also evaluate the equality between the two values and not just whether it's greater or less than. And finally, the last type of operator that I'm going to talk about is the logical operator, which allows you to evaluate multiple complex states at the same time. There are 3 logical operators available. We have the AND operator, which is denoted by the ampersand, the double ampersand. We have the operator, which is denoted by 2 lines. And finally, the NOT operator, which is denoted by the exclamation mark. And I'll explain now how those can be used in the context of various comparisons. So in our case, we've just finished learning about the comparison operators, and let's try and combine 2 comparisons at the same time and evaluate whether or not the comparison satisfies the criteria or not. So to keep it simple, let's make one comparison here. 4 is greater than 5, which is false, and 5 is less than 6. The reason why this returns false is because both sides have to be true. If either one of those comparisons are false, then that means the whole evaluation is going to be false. And we are going to learn more about truthy and falsy values in an upcoming tutorial for this course. But for now, try to keep up with my explanations. So in this case, what could we do to change this to true? Well, we could make both statements be true. So in this case, 4 is less than 5 and 5 is less than 6. And that would return true. Now the OR operator doesn't mind about both conditions being true. As long as one condition is true, the ultimate result from the evaluation will also be true. So let me show you an example. And let's say that 4 is less than 5 or 5 is greater than 6. Now, we obviously know that 5 is not greater than 6, but we definitely know that 4 is less than 5. And this evaluation returns true. Because as I've said, the OR operator cares only about one condition being true. As long as one of the conditions are being met, the whole evaluation will return true. And finally, we have the logical NOT operator, which means it's going to be the opposite of what you are asking for. So in this case, let's say that we have 4 less than 5, which is true. But if I wrap this around with parentheses and I say 4 is less than 5, and I put an exclamation mark at the very front, as you can see, this will turn immediately into false. So what the logical OR notation does is that it flips the value of the result. So in this case, 4 less than 5 would evaluate to true, but since we flip the entire result, the opposite of true is false. And that's pretty much it in terms of operators. Particularly in the last bit, I talked about truthy and false values. That is something we are going to cover in a different video. So if you still have some concerns about it, don't worry, you can ask them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.